Olga, thank you so much for being here. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. Can you please share a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in the world? And then I'm going to also I also want to share a little bit about the love that I have for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing so many things. I'm a teacher, educator, work in different kind of education sectors too, and I also work with teachers specifically because of, and thanks, I would say, to all of the programs that I've done with you guys. I lead meditations. I don't know if you know, but I'm going to go to lead a yoga and meditation actually in Fiji very soon, 1 month from.
Oh my gosh, I just got
Yes,
chills. That's
yeah. So
amazing.
this has been just really, really amazing to know that I can kind of just really get to share the gifts and guide a lot of people and the impact they're being creating and having a people just being so transformative. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Congratulations. I love that. And Fiji, I mean, that's like the cream of the crop in terms of traveling, right? Bora Bora and Fiji. You're like, yes, please,
I
more of
actually,
that.
in full disclosure, I didn't even know where it is on the map. I actually had to look it up. I thought it was closer, and I thought, okay, that's where we're going. Okay, good, we're going there. So,
Oh my gosh, I have chills everywhere, like right down to my ankles right now. That is so exciting and so well deserved because we've known Olga, it's probably been like since we went online, I think, about 5 years now.
yes,
And Olga, she was one of the first issue. I would say she was like the founding member of all of our programs because as we started a program, then our clients were looking for the next program. And then we're like, okay, well, let's create this. And then the next one, and the next one. And so we got to know Olga very, very well and her journey. And our hearts went out to her so many times because she went through a lot of change that happened in the world too, from career and during that crazy time when the world was all upside down. And there was a lot of changes that happened for her that resulted in her having to make big moves pretty fast in terms of her career, from being at a university to then creating her own business and acquiring a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and then creating your own beautiful momentum and movement too. And you have so much love, Olga, and you have so much care for the people. Like, I catch your lives every now and then, and you have so much presence and so much heart and so much care for people that you're doing the thing. Like we were talking earlier about people really stepping up and living their heaven on earth and creating that. And it's so beautiful to watch you doing that, and serving in all the ways that you can and supporting, especially teachers in high stress and all that stuff, right? To really be able to find their center. So you're passing on the wisdom and knowledge, which is so beautiful.
yeah, thank you. And you've been a great example of that, leading and just showing up very powerfully. And that's one of those moments I thought, okay, what are my options? I mean, I can sit, I can delay, or I can just listen to the call. I had to have this really honest conversation, thinking, okay, well, what would be my biggest regrets? My biggest regrets would be not showing up fully, not really living to my fullest potential. And I thought, what is it? And it's one foot in front of the other. And I'm just really amazed to see how much healing. I mean, in a way, the world needs so much healing. And I work with people that I'm actually got to experience what they experience. And so being able to lead with the tools that you've taught, so many of them, so many, I can't even begin to just like, there's an infinite number of tools. And I know we're talking about meditations and there's just, but so many. So there's no shortage of any kind. So
Exactly. I'm so happy to hear that. And that's the cool thing, right? Like when you receive so many of the tools, you start to practice them. And I think that's something that I really value about what you did is you really took the practices and the teachings and you embodied them. And especially because you personally were moving through some pretty big things during that time, you almost had to. It was like the universe saying, now you have to stop. Now you have to like rewire, and you need to like integrate this for self, which has created a very powerful energy for you as a leader. And so now you can, it's like being able to say, I've walked it, I've been there, I moved myself through, and here's how I did it, and here's how I can help. Right. And I think that that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I feel like for me, that was, I mean, in some way, I remember the first program I stepped into was Thrive 365. And it was just this call, and I felt, and there was a money thing too, that was like my biggest investment ever. But I had this feeling of trust that you have to kind of pay it forward in the way you have to show to the universe, to the energy that you're ready for it. And then you get, and even that same month, there was just so much abundance, there were so many opportunities. And then I had to face another challenge. How do I actually decipher what I do and what I, and what I say no to? And then after, I felt it was kind of like a kick in the butt type of moment where I had to just shift and change everything. And now I learned that lesson, that I'm just going to ride the momentum. I'm going to go with what feels right in the moment, but also not just in the moment, but what feels right, like from like my soul level, and what it feels like in that highest in alignment. And it's been so rewarding. Like I only have regrets of not following through on of those like intuitive wisdom bites. And so now I always just like tune in, and because you always know the answer. It's just sometimes like our mind, like you talk about this a lot too, right? Like obscures, and we start coming up with all of these different reasons. But when we know, and we just go in, and then the rewards are massive.
I agree with you 100%. And I think it takes courage and faith, right? To be able to walk like that too, to say, okay, I'm going to stretch myself and I'm going to trust. And then all of a sudden you have these like beautiful waves of abundance and opportunity that come back as a result of it because of this momentum. This is what we were talking about today, is just continuing that positive flow. And we know when we hold ourselves back, right? So can you speak into that a little bit about the moment sometimes when we hold back, and what do you do in the moments when you feel that, that dance between the ego pulling back and the soul calling forward?
Yeah, yeah. I always think of an example, and in my mind, I used to drive a lot to Toronto and back, like back in the day, like every single weekend for about 3 years. And I always remember, and I always think of a car. Once you pick up that speed, it's easy from there, and you want to just keep riding the momentum, and then the ride is enjoyable. And but if you kind of have to like go and then stop, and then go and stop and go and stop, like it's not good for the car, it's not good for you, and it's not as enjoyable, and you actually waste a lot more energy, that I found. And you constantly have to like recalibrate, you have to like re-envision things, and there's a lot of questioning. But once you know the momentum, it's kind of like being on a highway, just like, and you just ride all the way through, and then you get into this beautiful place where it's not just the journey and the final, well, it's not just the final destination that is just feels amazing, but it's also like every step of the way you just get to love the ride. And especially in being the programs like your program, especially the meditation program, there's just this beautiful energetic container that is created, that you feel like you always get attuned, you get aligned, even just like showing up. And I know sometimes life gets busy and things get busy, but once you're there, it's just this, yeah, it feels like everything is back into place. It's kind of, just realigning, and you don't have to constantly see what everybody else is doing, and you just, you enjoy the destination, but also the ride along the way. And that's just like the best of both worlds. Like you can't, like, it's a win-win situation.
I totally agree with you. I love that analogy. It made me think about the times being on the 400 highway, getting out of Toronto, and you're like, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. And you're like, can we just go already? Right. So I love that analogy. I think that's so beautiful. And I love that what you said too about being able to just show up, because there are days where we're like, oh, like there's a lot going on, or, oh, and the moment that you just drop in, whether it's a meditation or a centered space like that, a circle, and you lead meditations and classes now too. And so when people just drop in, you see the moment where it doesn't matter what's been going on all day or all week. It's like that moment is for you, and you get to drop in and expand and reattune again, to then have that energy for the next week, right? And so can you speak into that from a teacher perspective, because you've been a teacher a long, long time, a very long time, from university to now your own business. So in being in the classes, because people ask this a lot too, in terms of like facilitation and maybe the structure and the flow, is there anything that you could speak to from the student's perspective and your experience, with Gabriel and I?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I could go on for like hours, but I'm gonna try to keep it short. So before I enrolled in any of your programs, but specifically meditation program, I always had this feeling that I was kind of disconnected from the students. There was this sort of like guessing, are we on the same page? Do they have questions? Do they not? Am I kind of getting my message across? And so there's always this disconnect, and I was always in this kind of like a thinking mind. And when I started doing, I mean, when I enrolled in meditation course, I actually had I was doing it for myself. It was just really, I want to just like embody this. I want to do it for me. And what it allowed me to do is really, I mean, as a teacher, being working with students and working with facilitating as well, is being able to know in the moment when we're on the same page or not, and being fully present. And then there was this beautiful gift where people feel seen, people feel heard, and you don't actually have to do much. It's so much more joyful. It's so much easier. And then because you can be in the moment at any time, I can drop into that because I've done the practices and I've been using the tools and all of the, the meditations that you have. And there's so many of them that you also provide and you teach us how to design those and how to lead ourselves and others through that. That it's like, those are the moments I'm like, I can't wait. Like before it would be that teaching would kind of just drain my energy. But now I leave the class and like, oh my God, I feel like I'm attuned. I got to connect in a beautiful way. And then people feel heard. And I know exactly what their questions are before they even ask. And it's just so beautiful. And then even leading now teachers that I help, that I support through these experiences, just being so great to see how quickly they can drop into that. And I would also say, because what I love about the program, the meditation certification program, your program specifically, is that it gives this kind of right amount of structure and flow. So there was this sort of, there's the framework, but there's also so much flow in it that I was able to find kind of what feels right for me and what I can channel in the moment. And that's why I feel like there's not like I can create an infinite amount of meditations, because that's what, I'm able to do. And I have never shared that with you, because it's happened just recently. Well, last week, I actually started working with one teacher who has hearing disability, actually, and she can't really hear and listen. She has to sometimes use, like the aids. And she said the meditations, Olga, like your meditations are so powerful. And I realized, so it is, I mean, there is a framework and there's a cue, but what you teach is also, there's a lot of energy channeling. And I'm able to do that as well, which I have never seen anywhere else before. And I thought, oh my God, they are a lot more powerful than I actually thought they would be. And because your framework is so it's freeing in a way, and it's also so stable and so supportive, that it allows me and everyone. And I remember even being on the last couple of like sessions when we were doing this certification, where everybody was doing different, like their own style and practicing. And it was just so beautiful to experience how everybody was bringing their own flavor and taste, and it was just, I still listen to them, because it's just, oh my God, I need this energy, I need that energy. And that's kind of, and for me, be able to show up in that, like you said, sometimes there's days we move through the ups and downs, and I know you talk about this all the time. And then I feel, okay, so now it's time for me to show up as a leader too, and I want to make sure that I can get and drop into that energy really quickly. What's the practice that I can do? And boom, I can be in that space and I can hold that container. And I always tell people, it's interesting, because I always tell people, the teachers that I work with, I say, I have to make sure that I upgrade myself, because if I want you to come to kind of the level, the space that I'm holding for you, I want to, like, I have coaches as well. It's like I have mentors, and because for me to hold that space, I want to make sure I feel myself what that space feels like. And when I feel I can embody it, or like I can receive it, and then if I feel what it is, then I can imagine and visualize, and I can give that same energy. So yeah, I'm just going to stop talking because it's amazing. So
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you 100%. I think it's really important. This is exactly what I was saying earlier, that to be able to continue to upgrade yourself, it's essential, especially if you're leading other people, if you have a business, if you're a practitioner, a facilitator of any sort, it is essential. I remember back in the day talking to physiotherapists because I thought I was going to become a physiotherapist, massage therapist because I thought I was going to become that, and even certain holistic healthcare practitioners, they had to do so many hours. Even my sister is a speech pathologist. They have to, if they want to continue having their certification or their license, they actually have to have ongoing training. And I thought about that and I was like, I can understand why, because as you continue to evolve your practice, and especially if you've been a practitioner, even starting out, but as you progress like 10, 15, 20 years, it's nice to refresh. It's nice to be able to keep expanding and growing, because then that refreshes yourself, your content, you evolve and grow, and it makes for a very, very exceptional facilitator, whatever the facilitator is. And so I agree with you. I think it's really important to continue that. And I hope that that's something everybody continues to do, regardless of where they're at and who they are and what they're up to in the world. So one last question for you before you go. For anyone who might be considering the Ascension Meditation Certification and they're sitting in that space where they're dancing a little bit, right? They're like, the souls might be saying yes and the ego might be saying no, and they're doing this dance, and they might be sitting in that in-between space or on the fence. What would you say to someone, being someone who's already been through every one of our programs? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, so what I would say, not breaking the momentum. That's so, so important. And not being kind of like in that car that kind of stops and then goes and then stops and then goes. And for me personally, I did not know what I was missing out on until I enrolled in the meditation certification. I thought, like I was okay. I was doing the Thrive 365. I was doing, but then I was, oh my God, that's a whole new level. That's a whole new level of being. That's a whole new level of functioning. And even the fact that we can bring in meditation into even the daily activities, and that can be fast and so effective. So I would say, yeah, that's definitely, for me, that was really that opportunity. I thought it's once in a lifetime opportunities. Just why would you want to wait? Because I kind of always remind myself of this, and because I lost 3 people in my family last year, and that I kind of had to revamp completely how I see, presence and showing up as well. And I thought every day you live, there was one less day to live in a way, but you want to make sure that it's so juicy. It's like you actually live to your fullest potential and you're so present. And that's what your program really allowed to kind of, and I thought, why would I want to wait another year? Why would I want to wait like if I can make this year exceptional? And actually that would even help me feel better and help bring that impact right onto other people's lives.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Olga. Go find her, follow what she's up to, especially if you're a teacher. She's amazing. She's very powerful. And Olga, we are sending you so much love and so many blessings for this new adventure and for Fiji. I hope there's many more Fiji moments to come. You'll have to go live or something and take us on the journey with you so that we could follow along what you're up to. And I just think it's so inspiring. It creates for a bigger out of the box dream for so many people as well, to see what's possible. Like, who knew 4 or 5 years ago, who knew that this is what you'd be doing now, right? Like all the steps, I got chills, all the steps, all the moments of okay, I'm feeling the call and I'm going to do this, and acquiring all the knowledge and wisdom and skills. And then here you are getting ready to lead meditation in Fiji. This is amazing. And we are blessing you and loving you, and just, oh my gosh, congratulations on taking all the amazing steps that you have. I know it's been courageous for you, and I know you've moved through so much. I'm doing my best not to get emotional because I feel you and I know your heart, and I love you. And I want to thank you so, so much. And this is wow, just such a beautiful blessing.
Yeah. And thank you for being that support. You, just the fact that you've created that community, and that's really has been, I've never seen it anywhere else. And that's kind of me when I feel the love and the healing and the energy of the community. And now I like, you're getting emotional. Now I get emotional when people say, Olga, I really love the community that you created. And I was like, oh my God, that's actually big. But I was only able to do that because I've been part of this myself. And so, yeah, that's just want to say thank you. Such so much gratitude that I have for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, honey. We love you. Thank you so, so much. Have a beautiful day. Mwah.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, so emotional. Whew, that's big. Olga's been through a lot of stuff, like the loss of both her parents, and there was someone else really close to her as well. And so it happened within a very short time period. And then also the stuff with her job and her work and her career, like she's been through a lot of big things in a short period. And so to be there as a support system for her during that time, and then to watch her, like Fiji, I just keep coming back to Fiji. Oh my gosh, like so, so beautiful, right? Like so, so beautiful. So the cards that I want to share with you before we go, and I do want to say this, that, you know, if any part of Olga's message and story resonated, it's really important to follow that. Look at those 6 steps that I talked about, okay? Look at those 6 pieces: the yes, the opening, the receptivity, receiving it, the step, integration, create, and then the experience. And look at your own life and be like, where am I holding myself back? Because we don't know where it could end up. I know for sure, like knowing Olga over the last 5 years, I know for sure she never thought that she'd be going to Fiji. In all her manifestations, she did Thrive. She did meditation. She did our light leadership. She did Ascension Coach Healer. She did our creation container when we had our creation container mastermind. She did Thrive, I think 2 or 3 times. She's done all the things within our organization, and I know her creations. I've heard her manifestations, and nowhere did I ever hear that she was planning to go to Fiji. I know she wanted to travel the world. So the fact that that has happened for her, to me, that's so beautiful, and such the proof in the pudding sort of thing, right? Like it's one of those moments where you're like, wow, we really don't know sometimes where we're going to end up and where the journey is going to take us, and what domino move is going to impact the next and the next and the next and the next and the next. And so let that be like a really beautiful wave of inspiration for your own self and your own being, your own life, your own heart, and look at where you might be holding back, and then maybe make some moves. Right? And if coming into one of our programs, whether it's the Ascension Meditation program, whether it's something else coming up, reach out to us. We're here. Okay. I'll post the link after for the Ascension Meditation Certification. We start in a week and a half to 2 weeks, somewhere around there. I think 2 weeks today. It's such a beautiful journey, personally and professionally. Like hearing from Olga and the container and the energetic tune-ups and the being able to just come and rest and receive. And then on top of that, going, hey, I actually really like this. I think I can facilitate this. And for her to say, you know, that she's facilitating on a whole other level compared to other meditations and meditators is really beautiful to hear too, because that's the bulk of it, right? Like we love to facilitate by intuition, with energy, with the divine, being able to really embody the work, become that source of light, healing, peace, clarity, joy, abundance for ourselves, so that we can then not only house it, hold it, but be able to expand it and extend it out into the world and make a bigger impact. And I think for those of us that want to live the heaven on earth, at the beginning, we're like, yes, oh yeah, right? Or a soul yes. This might be a part of that. This might be part of the toolkit for you. This might be part of the next step for you. And so listen to the soul pull. Don't let the ego pull you back. I've done that way too many times in my life. I hit a moment yesterday around it. And I know that the moment I said yes and I stepped into the soul's expression, I stepped right out of the ego, and that's going to fly forward. Every time you lean back into the ego, you slow yourself down, you pull yourself back, and it retracts and it slows down creation. It's kind of like the start stop on the highway thing that Olga was talking about.